What is the job of a superior court judge?
In the broadest sense, the judge administers justice. There are two basic types of law: criminal law, where the state has determined that a certain act or conduct deserves to be punished by fine or incarceration. And in that process, there are procedures in place. It's very regulated and set forth. The district attorney generally charges someone with a crime after getting a police report. Then the person is arraigned, which is the first time they come before a court. And at that time, very important rights are told to them. They're told about the right to have an attorney, the right to a speedy trial. And after that, they're generally appointed counsel if they can't afford counsel, or they hire an attorney, or they represent themselves, and the process starts. And in that process, if there's a felony, then the first thing the judge does is they have something called a preliminary hearing. And that is a determination made, an evidentiary hearing, where the court decides whether or not there's probable cause for that matter to go on to a felony charge and go on to possibly a trial. And then, if that matter goes on to trial, then the judge's role is to make sure that all evidentiary motions are ruled correctly. So the evidence that gets in is the appropriate evidence. And then if a jury is charged, then the judge makes sure that the jury process is done accordingly and that the person gets a fair trial with the process being followed. In a civil case, what the judge does is looks at a complaint. A complaint is filed by one person or another, and then the person who is defending that complaint has a series of processes they can do to try to defend that matter. They can have a demurrer filed that says this complaint is without merit. They can have a motion to strike, and their job on the defense side is to limit what goes before the court. The court makes these decisions along the way. There's going to be evidentiary rulings, and if there's a matter where the facts are not in dispute, but the law might be, then there's something called a motion for summary judgment. So everyone says, here's the facts, judge, we think the law is this, and the judge decides what that would be. Again, if a resolution cannot be made, it will go on to a trial. In each step of the way, the judge attempts to get the right result and do the right thing and make sure that the process is followed fairly. Thank you. Randy?
You know, we don't have a chart. Larry, do you have a chart that we can borrow?
You want to use this one?
You must have one. Yeah, you've got one that covers everything. I think in the simplest terms, and that's a good question because people really sometimes talk about what a judge does, but unless you have the misfortune of being in front of the judge, either as a criminal defendant, which is significantly misfortunate, especially since there's a lot of room in the jail now, or if you're involved in a civil dispute, however defined, and that's broadly defined, whether it's a battle over money, which is one kind of a civil dispute, or you've been injured, and it's called a personal injury case, or you're in a divorce with fighting over property and kids, which is really unfortunate. No matter what type of situation you're in a simple sense, the judge acts as the referee, and the referee that is making rulings just like a referee does between the parties. In a criminal case, between the prosecution and the defendant, and in a civil case between the two parties that are fighting over money or custody or injury or whatever it is. The judge, the reason that a judge needs experience is because the judge needs to know what the law is in acting as a referee in either of these matters. He needs experience in the law and knows how to apply the law that applies whether it's civil or criminal. And as Mark suggested, matters are decided ultimately on evidence. The judge decides what evidence is going to be considered, and evidence is going to result in the resolution of the case one way or the other. So what you need is a judge that knows the rules of evidence, that has a lot of experience with the law, and that can apply those rules fairly and consistently with a lot of experience.
Thank you.